These are the times Meg Griffin behaved like an absolute slut. I mean, let me show you real quick. In the episode Barely Legal, when Mayor Adam West sends all of Quahog's police force to Cartagena, Colombia, to search for a character from Romancing the Stone, Joe feels buried in work back home. Since Joe is the only officer left behind, with South America considered not wheelchair accessible, Peter and the gang decide,
"Come on, we'll be great cops. Besides, it's bound to go better than my deep sea training."
real homies, I'd say. At the same time, Meg returns home from school, feeling desperate about not having a date for her junior prom and threatening to commit suicide.
I'm gonna kill myself because no one will go with me.
Feeling a bit sorry, Brian unwillingly agrees to take her to the dance. Brian masks his unhappiness at the event by drinking heavily. But towards the end of the night, while defending Meg, he makes a jab at Connie D'Amico, pointing out that
You're popular because you developed early and started giving handjobs when you were 12, but now you can't stand to look at yourself in the mirror because all you see is a whore. So you pick on Meg to avoid the inevitable realization that once your body's used up by age 19, you're gonna be a worn-out, chalky-skinned burlap sack that even your stepdad won't want. How's that? Am I in the ballpark?
shortly after this confrontation, Brian and Meg share a kiss, but immediately,
Sorry, that was the booze, not you. You gonna eat that?
after the dance, Meg starts to see Brian as her boyfriend, but Brian makes it clear he has no plans to date her. This rejection makes Meg obsessed with him, leading her to try more and more unusual ways to get his attention. Realizing he's losing control of the situation, Brian tells Lois about Meg's feelings.
I think we may have a problem with Meg. I may have made out with Meg.
Which anger her. She insists he sort things out.
Okay, I had that coming.
What the hell is wrong with you, you sick bastard?
Look, I was drinking.
Even after Brian tells Meg he will never be interested in her, she knocks him out with a bag of dog chow, ties him up, and attempts to take him to a hotel for, well, to have sex with him. But luckily Peter and his friends manage to stop them. I'm honestly shocked at how desperate she is to be attracted to a dog, and even tie him up to make a move on him. However, Quagmire decides to help Meg find her way. When she visits his home, rather than engaging in the expected activities, he takes the time to have a meaningful conversation with her. He shares that having a boyfriend isn't necessary for enjoying her teenage years, and gives her a copy of Shel Silverstein's The Missing Piece for inspiration. After their chat, Quagmire heads to his bedroom to spend time with two escorts, but he gets distracted when one of them mispronounces the word whip. The next episode is even more wild. In the episode Christmas is Coming, Lois asks Meg to take Stewie to visit Santa at the mall after a school Christmas recital. But Stewie ends up feeling traumatized. In an attempt to calm him and capture a photo, Meg decides to sit on Santa's lap with Stewie. As she bounces up and down, she experiences an unexpected thrill, almost like a bit of an orgasm, and compares it to a moment from a tennis match with Jimmy Connor.
What just happened?
These feelings start to invade her dreams. But she brushes it off as a newfound crush on a guy when she talks to Lois. Stewie finds himself even more traumatized by both Santa and Meg, and he opens up to Brian about it. However, Meg insists on visiting the mall again and again, so she can sit on Santa's lap once more, but she's horrified to find out that her father, Peter, has taken on the Santa role.
Dad?
Please don't tell your mother about this. I took an extra job. I don't make much money, and Christmas is very expensive.
She drags Stewie along, only to realize that it's still not the Santa she remembers. Her frustration leads to her being banned from the mall, and she eventually shares her misfortune with her parents. Although Lois warns her that she may never feel that same magic again, but Meg is determined not to give up because she wants the same feelings again. On Christmas Eve, Meg hops from one mall to another in search of her Santa, but time runs out for her just as she's about to use a security guard's abandoned cup for her.
Sorry, sweetie. It's Christmas Eve. Mall quiet on the Western Front closed 900 minutes ago.
Well, the real Santa shows up to encourage her. However, his exit in a broken down car leaves her questioning whether he is truly Santa. Shortly after Christmas, Meg encounters Jimmy Connor, who has crawled through Stewie's window.
But just in case, here, I want you to have these.
Your balls?
That's right. Whenever you need me, just rub my balls and I'll come.
Next, in the episode Halloween on Spooner Street, when it's time to go outside for the Halloween party, the kids come downstairs, all dressed up in their own costume. Chris decides to dress up as Bill Cosby in blackface for Halloween, while Meg dresses up as a ridiculously slutty cat. But Lois quickly insists that Chris change his costume.
Now go upstairs and put on that Indian chief costume I bought you.
Oh, I don't wanna.
Meanwhile, she catches Peter raiding the fridge for dozens of eggs and finds out that he and Joe are planning a series of painful and embarrassing Halloween pranks on Quagmire. On the other side, Stewie gets anxious about the costumes worn by trick-or-treaters, so Brian decides to teach him the basics of trick-or-treating. While they're out, a group of teenagers crosses their path and steals Stewie's candy. Poor kid. Meanwhile, Meg heads off to her first high school Halloween party at Connie's house. She's got her hopes high, thinking it's going to be her night to shine. At the high school Halloween party, Meg is chosen to play spin the bottle and goes into the closet to make out with a boy dressed as Optimus Prime. They soon start kissing each other. Getting more excited, the rest of the party crashes in.
You guys! Oh my god.
They discover that Meg was making out with her own brother.
Chris?
Meg?
Oh my god, what are you doing here?
Trying to grab some boo!
From your sister?
I didn't know it was you!
Well, who did you think it was?
Some bitch, who cares?
The next episode, called Quagmire and Meg, is another banger. It starts showing that Meg is now 18, and the family organizes a surprise party for Meg's 18th birthday. But the only guest who arrives is Quagmire, and it quickly becomes clear that he is only here to seduce Meg.
Hey, where's that Pinky going, huh? Where's he going? What's he doing? Get back here. There you go.
After he leaves without causing any trouble, Peter decides to just let it go. Meanwhile, Quagmire keeps flirting with Meg and convinces her to go out with him. When Quagmire arrives for their date, Peter protests, but Lois supports Meg's decision, explaining to Peter that it's just Meg's way of seeking attention and that she might act out if they tried to step in, just like Lois did with her own father. After their date, where Glenn doesn't succeed in his advances but sees it as a minor hurdle, he returns home to find Peter waiting for him.
Did you have with my daughter?
Peter, trust me, it's not happening.
Peter warns Quagmire to stay away from Meg, but Quagmire hits back, saying she's 18, legally an adult, and ready for romance, prompting Peter to promise to put a stop to it. As Quagmire keeps trying to get close to Meg, Peter does everything he can to keep them apart. He talks to Meg, but she complains to Lois, who warns Peter not to push Meg into rebelling. However, Lois changes her mind when she gets to know that Meg and Quagmire have gone to his infamous cabin for some privacy. Both of them immediately rush to stop them. When they arrive, they find Meg and Quagmire in their underwear.
Meg, get in the car. We're going home.
I'm not going home. I'm 18 and you can't tell me what to do anymore.
Despite being in that wild situation, Meg, being Meg, argues that she is 18. But Peter insists he is still her father and won't back down. When it comes to Quagmire, Lois doesn't hold back. She gets right in his face and threatens to chop off his thing and serve it up as a snack for Brian. And not only that, but to make sure the lesson sticks, she also demands monthly access to his cabin for her and Peter's private getaway. Looks like Lois took full advantage of the situation. However, the next morning, Meg thanks her parents for stopping her from making a mistake with Glenn. Seems like she's turning things around, right? Well, not really. In the next episode, titled Prick Up Your Ears, Meg takes things to a whole new level by actually desiring to have your with her boyfriend, thinking it's the only safe way for them to get intimate. This episode starts showing Mayor West accidentally shattering the window of an adult video store using a cat launcher while pursuing a pizza delivery guy after receiving the wrong topping. Meanwhile, Chris and his friends sneak in to grab some videos and end up watching one of the adult films with Stewie, who is left confused by the nonsensical plot. When Lois discovers them watching Genital Hospital, she becomes convinced that a proper sex education class is necessary at their school.
Now, if you're curious about you should talk to your ed teacher.
We don't have one. The principal cut said class to save money.
What?
Since the school had eliminated sex education, Lois took it upon herself to become the new sex education teacher. In her class, she tries to educate the students about safe But her plans go awry when Peter decides to share his own views on the subject. After the first class, parents protest against Lois for teaching the kids about safe premarital sex instead of encouraging abstinence. Consequently, she is fired and banned from the school.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Griffin. You're fired.
Fired? Oh no!
Reverend Jerry Kirkwood takes over as Lois' replacement, pushing both premarital and marital abstinence while offering questionable examples of the supposed consequences of. This approach resonates with many students, including Meg, who starts a relationship with a classmate named Doug. Peter, fully convinced by the anti-messages Meg brings home, decides to wear a chastity belt and refuses to engage in intimacy with Lois. Meanwhile, Lois discovers Meg and Doug participating in a new trend at school called Meg justifies their actions by claiming it doesn't count as sex in the eyes of the Lord. When Peter attempts the same with Lois, she is furious and forces herself on him.
I am gonna have regular sex with you whether you like it or not.
No!
I wasn't asking your permission.
No, I'm abstinent! This is an affront to the Lord! No!
This shocking turn of events makes Peter rethink his position, and soon he and Lois hatch a plan to sneak back into the school after being banned. During one of Kirkwood's assembly, Lois confronts him, shoving him off the stage and telling the students not to fall for his misleading ideas. She stresses that while it's important to wait until they're truly ready for it's also natural to have sexual urges, and premarital is fine as long as it's safe, encouraging the use of condom. After this, Doug dumps Meg after seeing her naked, leaving Meg humiliated and furious.
Wow, does this mean I'll see you naked?
Yeah.
Oh boy, I can't wait!
She blames Lois for ruining her relationship. Mention any other episodes where you think Meg has acted wild to in the comments. And yeah, subscribe for more wild content.